What's up guys, it's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have what if Issei wanted revenge or what if Issei sought revenge. Either way I'll pick the title when the video is released. What if during Issei's last moments he simply refused to die? What if he wanted to avenge his death and gain vengeance on those who killed him? Well, this is the story through sheer force of will and focus on revenge that Issei becomes vengeful and sets himself on a journey of revenge and change. Let's try to hit 1,000 likes for this series. This will probably be like an hour-long part, a lot different from my other part ones that are usually like 30 minutes. If you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you guys want to know what ifs on Goku or any other characters, go down in the description below and subscribe to my second channel. It'll be linked down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for the support. 30K soon, baby. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Chapter 1. Kotown, September 9th, 2016, 10:14 p.m. It was 14 minutes till 10 at night as Issei was lying in a pool of his own blood thanks to his killer ex-girlfriend having impaled him with a spear of magnetic-colored light. Damn, why is it the one time I get a girl that I actually hope would like me, I get instantly turned around and impaled, Issei thought as a glob of blood ejected itself from his mouth while his body shuddered in its death throes. And now I'm here, with a hole in my stomach while I'm starting to see black, which is the last damn thing I wanted, Issei thought as he tried to will himself more precious moments as death thought closed in on him. I refuse to go out like this, as there's so much I haven't gotten to do yet. It's not fair, as why of me of all people as I never hurt anyone. I never went out of my way to cause pain to anyone, so gosh damn it, why does it have to be me to die? I refuse to die! Issei internally wailed within his mind as pitch black closed around him. And for a few minutes, Issei lay there dead as a doornail as death took him into solemn embrace. Yet something happened to him as his corpse began to convulse, as it through multiple of seizures, while he concentrated on just the thoughts of the refusal to die, but also focused on getting vengeance. For Issei, his mind and spirit refused to go on to the afterlife the way he did, since there was still so much he wanted to do as soon as enough vengeful hate began to seep into him, as soon as enough neuronic energy started to pulse into him. For he wouldn't let go of the mortal coil, and his mind tethered itself to his thoughts of vengeance against Yuma and all of those who associated in his death. For his enraged spirit began to further itself back into his body the more he began to think upon revenge against the people who set him up to die. And the more his spirit and mind began to tether itself back to his mortal body, he began to change. His wound began to seal up. His skin began to pale to having a slight gray tint to it, while jet black vein-like cracks in his skin began to form, while his body began to convulse as he began to reek of neurotic energy. I'm alive again! Whew! Issei spoke up as he stood up to check his stomach and wound, and not after looking back at his reflection from his own pool of blood. What in the literal hell just happened to me? Issei questions as he saw his corpse-like appearance and burning orange eyes. I believe I can answer that, a voice spoke from within his mind. Who the hell's there? Issei questioned, looking around as he went around the area. I am Ddraig. As for what you've become a revenant. Ddraig informed him of his new status. What the hell is a revenant? As the last thing I remember is dying, then I just felt anger, and then I've ever been in my life. Issei asked as he began to stumble and walk away. A revenant is someone who refuses to die or to pass on to the afterlife and is fueled by such intense need for vengeance that they're able to forcibly return themselves back to life, and in doing so becoming a walking corpse that are empowered by underneath a neurotic energy, something of which you become just a few seconds ago. Ddraig informed him of what he'd now become. So wait a minute, I'm a zombie then? What does that mean, I gotta start eating people? Issei questions as if he was wondering gonna have to start eating people like in the movies. No, as that's one of the many misconceptions between revenants and zombies. For there are zombies, no doubt they are mindless corpses brought back through the use of necromancy, and as in typical horror movies will devour your flesh. While being a revenant, you are mainly a corpse given superhuman strength, regeneration, durability, and other natural crazy abilities. I cannot remember. Ddraig informed him, remembering some of the baseline abilities of a revenant. Well, thanks for telling me of what I can at least do, but I have to ask, where does this leave you in all of this? Since I don't really know or even what the hell you are or why you're stuck in a guy like me, because in that case you haven't noticed, despite my will to live again and my desire to kill every single person involved with her, I'm not really all that special, Issei wondered, since he didn't know why he was so special to have some entity in his head. Because I've been watching you for a long time, as while you've been perverse something that I've cringed upon at your own actions, I also have seen within you, and there are immense amount of potential within the last have been waiting for the longest times to burst forth. So with this new chance at life, I'd like to help you reach it and accomplish your goals, Ddraig explained to him as Issei took up the night sky. So what exactly can you do? Because I have no idea who you even are. Because if we are in this together, then I'd at least like to know what you can do, Issei asked as he walked away from the park. Simple. I am known as the Red Dragon Emperor, and with my power, although you are not quite ready for it yet, once you completely gain it, you'll be able to further increase your strength. For once you gain the first stage of my power, you'll be well on your way of becoming a god killer, Ddraig informed him as Issei sat down for a bit. Because I've no doubt what together will be able to crush our enemies. However, it's a two-way street since I cannot grant you the power to crush them if you do not work to further your own. Since to gain the revenge you will need to work harder than you ever have been to become strong. So are you up to the challenge? Ddraig told him since he fully welcomed the idea of having a partnership with Issei, but only as long as he committed to it. Don't worry, I'm not committed to it since I just don't want her and everyone connected to her dead. But I will also go far and beyond in wanting to feel up boobs. For my new goal is to not die a virgin again, since that is the most bitch-made way to go out, Issei declared as he decided why to stop at boobs when he could go a further step and try to get himself laid. Well, it's a step from you being obsessed with tits since I'm all for helping you out. Just remember to stay within your realm of possibilities, since your luck with women as it stands is quite low, Ddraig told him, as Issei could acknowledge his perverseness has screwed him over. I can't argue and won't argue with that. Since looking back on it, I've been beaten by the Kendo Club and all the girls so many times I've lost count. Issei agreed that he needed to change his game up. Anyways, I look forward to our partnership together, Ddraig spoke to brown-haired Revenant. Same here, Ddraig. As I can't wait to get started, Issei spoke, his bright orange eyes staring at a starry night with a new sense of purpose. 2 days later, September 11th, 2016, 9:45 p.m., Ko-Town. It was 9:45 at night as Issei was using his new profound strength as a revenant to leap through town, having cleared 50 feet as the time he bounded through the time, searching for someone to test his newfound abilities against. Alright, there's gotta be something out there I can go up against, Issei thought to himself as he cleared another section of space. Well, that's not something you see every day, Issei spoke, seeing a figure with a bat wings and it wielded its hand a short sword. Ddraig, wish me luck since we're about to see how I stack up in an actual fight, Issei said to a dragon with himself as he jumped into the air. Yes, as it's now or never to see how you stand, reborn as a revenant, Ddraig responded as he dive-bombed after the figure. That in mind, Issei soon Superman punched the stray devil hard enough that he made it fall flat on its ass, with tumbling on the ground catching itself to see the stray devil with bloodied mouth due to, in part, of a good deal of its teeth being punched out of its face. For now that Issei could see the figure closely, it was a man dressed in black studded leather armor, with pure cobalt blue eyes and coal black horns, a full long jutting out of his bald skull as he stood 5'10", with lightly tanned skin with a black-blooded spatted goatee and a double-edged sword in hand. With both standing across from each other, with Issei having backed up a bit to grab a crowbar since it felt right to have something stand a fair chance with, before the stray devil went out after him with surprising speed that Issei didn't even have time to defend, evident by the short cutting him across the size of his stomach, which brackish reddish black blood seeped forth, for he got stabbed once again, but for this time it nearly hitting him in large intestine, and he had got caught in time, before he wrenched it out and beat him with a bone-cracking shot to his ribs that cracked two of them like cheap glass on a window pane. Before he shoved them away, into the trash and could fold it over and packed in a tray, stumbling from the impact. While Issei was out of it a bit as his wounds began to close up as he stormed over towards the devil, who lunged at him with great speed. For Issei, just like by skin, his teeth managed to smack it aside and whack him in the face that made his head jerk back violently, causing a black eye to swell up in the process, which caused Issei to take 3 slashes at once, with the wounds marking his chest, causing more brackish blood to slowly seep out of him. So, then who sent you after me? Was it the Gremries or the Seatries? Because I don't remember hearing about them recruiting. Any new ones into their fold? The stray devil questioned as Issei's wounds began to close up. Look, I don't know who or what the fuck you're talking about, or even who the hell you are, but I'm just here to destroy you and test out what I can do, Issei admitted, since he knew nothing of what he was going on about. Well, then this is perfect because now I don't have to worry about either one of them coming after me once I take your damn head off, the stray devil spoke, as Issei kept his crowbar in front of him. Alright, well, I guess I got even more stuff to figure out then, Issei noted as the stray devil came barreling after him. With that, Issei barely managed to block the sword jab to his face, yet it proved to be feint as instead, he cut Issei across the neck with his jugular nearly being severed. As he clutched at his wound before the stab hinted itself into the upper abdomen, for he drove Issei back a bit in trying to slash out, causing a deep gash as he felt a mere torrent of blood right out of his system, to which his regeneration was working quite hard to repair the damaged organs in order to prevent them from going septic. For he caught the short sword blade, however, the way in which he did so and causing him a great deal of pain, evident by it being halfway through his forearm, yet he used this to his advantage by smashing the crowbar hard into his stomach, causing him to take sharp inhale of air as he folded over from being hit what felt like a 6-ton hammer. Before Issei reared back and smashed the crowbar into his stomach again, this time causing it to dent inwards as the stray devil vomited up a pile of bit of blood, before doing so again and breaking it in half, and this time snapping the bones in his right arm, following it by stabbing into his navel. For he then followed up with a punch that broke 2 more ribs, with one nearly puncturing a lung as it sent the devil into a wall, with Issei going after him as he felt his stomach and right forearm burn as the wounds began to seal up. With him going towards the stunned devil, grabbing him by the horns, and as his healing arm burned as he did so, for when he then proceeded to knee him repeatedly in the face, carving his nose until it was nothing more than a bloody void made of ruined cartilage and flesh. Well, at least it's looking like I'm doing better than what I expected, Issei thought to himself as his wounds finally closed up. I don't know what the hell you are, since I've never seen a devil or a human like you, the stray devil spoke while his face was bruised and battered along with his body. The thing is that I used to be human, but I'm no devil at all. Since that part, I'm still figuring out of what I can do, and I thank you for showing me somewhat of what I'm able to accomplish, Issei responded as he saw himself fully healed. Regardless, all I know is that if I take you on, I'll be able to get a pretty high price for whoever the fuck you are, because I'm sure you'd do well as a bodyguard for someone, the stray devil spoke as Issei was in thought. Ddraig, I've got something that I want to try, and when I want you to give me that power boost you were talking about, since I can end this in one shot if I get it right, Issei told the great worm of a dragon. Go for it, and just know whatever you've got planned, that if it gets you hurt, then it's all on you in the aftermath, Ddraig told him, as the twice critical gauntlet appeared behind him. Don't worry, I've got it covered, Issei responded, bracing himself as he felt the blade pierce a lung. So do you have any last words to say before someone's brute for a bodyguard, the stray devil questioned. Yeah, that you really should remember to have your bases covered, Issei responded as he felt the power surge through him. With that, he brought the gauntleted hand down on the devil's sword arm, and as the result was being shattered and bent almost all the way back, while bone shards stuck out in the spray of gore that caused the sword handle to snap off of the sheer force, for he followed up by jumping enough that when he brought back, it was down on his head, causing it to implode upon itself as he caused the skull and collarbone to collapse with his arm shoulder deep inside of the devil's now partially imploded and caved in torso that fell with a wet thud. Well, that went well enough, as it seems that your first time fighting you've done an admirable job, Ddraig complimented as Issei reached into his chest and covering his mouth ripped out the sword blade. Although next time You want to do something like that, try to make sure that it doesn't hit something as vital as lungs. For you should count on yourself, luckily and thankful that you can regenerate since you had not been able to. Then you would be a dead man once again. Ddraig told himself as Issei disregarded the blade and waited for his lung to heal as he coughed out blood that briefly filled his lungs. Noted, but still managed to work out. All the same, so I'll keep that in mind. Still, I think that it went better than what I thought, because I honestly expected to see if I could be able to regenerate an arm or a leg now that I'm contemplating, of course. Issei answered back since he fully accepted to lose a limb. Still, I congratulate you on gaining a hard-fought victory, Ddraig told Issei, who smiled with a reddish-black color. Thanks. I appreciate the compliment because I know that I've still got an incredibly long way to go until I hit the top. But until then, I'm just going to keep grinding away until I get my vendetta against Yuma and every last person connected with my death since that shit will not fly straight if anything to say about it. If I have anything to say about it, Issei spoke as he looked up at Starry Night as he would attain his vengeance, maybe not today or tomorrow, but one day. Still, I think it's time for you to retire for the night as you've done enough for one night, Ddraig told him, as he'd rather not have Issei push his luck. Agreed, Issei spoke as he bound it off back home. Co-Academy, 3 days later, September 14th, 2016, 12:50 p.m. It was 10 minutes till 1 as Issei was currently going toward the gym class and in doing so was talking with Ddraig about what his next move should be, since after being told he had successfully fought off a devil by the dragon within, he knew that he needed to have some kind of attack plan. Well, Ddraig, any ideas for now? I'm not only going to get revenge on her and everyone connected, but also the fact that I gotta deal with the devils since you heard him, as I've got to watch out for both Sona and Rias. Issei laminated at the fact and wondered how he was going to go about this. First things first, you'll have to still grow stronger as well as find weapons for yourself, because while you're growing competent in your physical ability, as Revenant is quite deadly. You need to be at a level where you can overwhelm her without a problem, Ddraig told him, knowing he'd have to grow stronger and find a weapon to fight with. The growing stronger part I can do without a problem. It's just the fact that how the hell am I going to find a weapon to kill her and whatever the hell she is, along with killing devils since I'm pretty sure they don't sell those on Amazon. Issei spoke, knowing that weapons that would do well in killing his chosen enemies were had to come by. Since if you know anything, then tell me where I can go and find them, Issei asked of Ddraig if he knew any. Well, I know high quality ones, but they're out of reach due to the matter of distance and difficulty of possessing them. Therefore, we wait until a later date and time presents itself, because I'd rather you not die once again, Ddraig answered, as he knew some but difficulty to get them when Issei had killed second time. Shit. Well, I guess it's finding them the old-fashioned way then. After all, nothing of value gets found easily, Issei cursed, but the sometimes getting his hands dirty was required. Now that I've got a problem with getting my hands dirty, Issei thought to himself. Regardless, I'm sure you'll find something to aid in your quest of vengeance, Ddraig reassured him. It's a shame I broke that guy's sword, since it could have become in handy. But oh well, no time moaning about it since there's so much I've got to do. Issei further cursed at the fact that he could have currently had a weapon in his hand, but there was no time complaining since he had to go after. But besides, that any ideas on how we can beat Yuma? Because so far she's in the wind and I've got no clear way how to flush her out, Issei asked, wondering of what the best option would be. The only option you've got right now is simply to bring her to you, Ddraig told himself. Ddraig told him, getting Issei to stop at that. Where are you leading with this? Issei asked him. It's that sooner or later they're going to give a wise up to the fact that you aren't dead. So when your time comes for them to start looking, use that to your advantage and go on the offensive first. Since if you go right to the jugular the moment they find you and keep up the pressure, then I've got no doubt that in due time she'll come to you, Ddraig told him, as the most sunfire to assure his finding the fallen angel. After all, the better way to flush her out into the open and kill her, often systematically killing off her allies, since it really was the #1 assured way to do so, and have Issei gain his vengeance in a quick and steadfast fashion manner. I'm all for it, since that I guess it means that I gotta getting good quickly. I gotta start getting good quickly, because if I'm gonna do this, then I'll need to be able to do as you said, to start getting strong enough to where I can overwhelm them without fail, which means I'm gonna start need hitting it hard if I want to stand any accurate chance of killing her and everything connected to it. Issei spoke knowing full well he was going to have to get more into it if he wanted a real chance at completing his revenge. Well, so far, you've been off to a decent start, although you still have some polishing to do. You're very well on your way towards killing them, Ddraig noted, since there's one thing that Issei had in addition of his revenant abilities so far as his high learning curve. And one step closer towards gaining the next stage of my power, since you are gaining closely towards it, that's for sure. But you still have got ways to go before you can access it, Ddraig told him, as he has to admit that Issei was gaining on turning his twice critical into a boosted gear. Thanks, and I can't wait to see what you can do, since I've been getting some ideas for what I could do with it, because while I'm not all for magic, since one thing for certain that I'm straight up bruiser and brawler and the foremost, which is I'm pretty sure why I won't be using any magic anytime soon, Issei said to the Yellow Dragon. Because Issei in the short time as a revenant had realized that he'd rather like getting up close and beating the living hell out of someone, since it felt right to him to get up close and personal than stand back and be shooting spells from the distance. Fair enough, since you wouldn't be the first of my hosts to prefer martial arts, might over the Ukraine. Besides, I can better applaud you for that, since it takes someone who misses the thrill that comes with it and tearing into an opponent, which is why you've got my full support in going into devoting your skills in melee combat, Ddraig replied, on board for Issei's decision since even now he missed the thrill of close combat. Well, it's decided then. I guess that the only thing left to worry about are Rias and Sona, since I wonder what the hell they even do in my home, Issei wondered, as to what the hell they even did. I do not know, but one thing at a time, Issei, because they can be dealt with later, as of right now they are bigger fresh to fry. Ddraig reminded him of the matter at hand, of course, as first Yuma and then the both of them, because for some reason I feel like someone's watching me, Issei spoke, feeling a pair of eyes on him. That's because you are. As look up to your right, Issei, Ddraig told him as he looked up to see Rias Grimory of all people. Hey, what are you looking at me for? As you don't have something better to do than at the school's most hated bastard? Issei yelled, at wondering why she'd spare the time of day for him. Because if you want to have your reputation intact, then do us both a favor and don't make contact with me, since it's universally agreed that I'm a piece of shit around the academy, Issei spoke, knowing that his reputation at the academy was within an absolute zero. That's what I thought, since it's better for people like her not to associate with me, Issei thought, walking away from somewhat downcast Queen of Ko. Is something wrong, Rias? Akeno asked her. Oh, nothing is wrong. It's just that Issei boy, I didn't get a chance to revive him almost a week ago, Rias answered back with a puzzled look on her face. Are you taking a liking to him? Akeno wondered, slightly teasing her longtime friend. No, he just seemed different and a lot more than what I've heard about him, Rias noted that there was something almost sinister within him. I'm sure he's fine, besides he's still a cutie, and you've got still time to get him before Sona goes after him. After all, you know she'll be once she finds out about him, Akeno told her as Rias sighed with a confident smile. Don't worry, I've got it covered, but for now, I want to watch him. I'm curious as he was able to continue living from a fallen angel attack, Rias spoke, as she now had Issei on her mind. Just who and what are you, Issei? Rias wondered to herself. 2 days later, Ko Town, 8:04 p.m., September 16th, 2016. It was 16 minutes after 8 at night as Issei currently had a werewolf of all things attacking him, with currently having it choke hold to prevent it from biting his head off and mauling him. Fuck you for trying to kill me, you dirty mutt, as what did I even do to it? Issei spoke, having the creature in submission hold as he tried to cut off its air supply. It's your fault, you know, since you seem like such wonderful prey, the werewolf responded as it tried to break out of its hold. I'm prey to no one. Now either piss off or get a hole punched through you, Issei told the black-feathered, blue-eyed werewolf who torn white jeans. How about this instead, the werewolf responded as it slashed Issei in the face. Son of a bitch that smarts, Issei thought as his wound on his face began to regenerate, with Issei feeling his vision in his right eye return to normal as he grabbed the werewolf by the throat and chucked it into the hood of a car. With the werewolf recovering and attempting to chop down on the charging revenant, the key word begin attempt since Issei caught him by the throat and began to smash him into a hood of the car until it began to dent and collapse inward, with the werewolf's head spinning and bleeding a bit from the plunging slams against the car before Issei completely collapsed the frontal portion of the car with a straight punch that knocked out some of its fangs. The werewolf snarled out of Issei and raked at his chest. With twin swipes in its several-inch hooked claws, cut into his flesh and began to heal as it went for another that Issei caught and punched in the shoulder hard enough to discolocate it, before grabbing it by the chest and tackling it into a brick wall hard enough to break it in half of its lower ribs like a cheap pottery. With him then using his stomach like a heavy bag and punching it like crazy, causing blood to spittle to eject from its mouth. With him punching the beast hard enough to bruise its kidneys, as it was soon enraged after the flurry that had been Issei's arm clamping down in moderate-sized chunk out of his arm, since him grunting out of pain was brackish blood sleep from the wound, with him counting with his good arm and right hook as much as he could short amount of time sent it back several meters, and hurtling towards a fire hydrant, so deciding that it was enough screwing around and summoned his twice critical. Well, time to stop messing around and actually get with it, Issei thought as he boosted himself, and he decided that he should get serious. So, it looks like my prey has been hiding something, the werewolf wheezed out from the impact of the blow, with a large bruise double the size of a baseball was on his chest that had flesh and fur scrapped off. How many times do I have to say it to get through your thick and furry skull? I'm nobody's prey, Issei responded, cracking his knuckles as he grabbed the manhole cover. No matter what you say, I'll kill and devour you, as finally you've made this all worth it when I bite your throat out, the werewolf spoke, before running on all fours towards Issei. Yeah, that's what you think, Issei said under his breath. With that being said, he spun twice around and threw the manhole cover as hard as he could, with the result being an audible series of thuds before he saw the werewolf missing its left arm at the shoulder. For the 6-foot-tall lupine creature let out a howling roar of pain at its limb being rent assured. For Issei took advantage of this and stomped on its femur with great force, the result of a loud and painful cracking noise as it fell on one of its knees in obvious pain from the attack, with compound fracture showing itself via bone spurs protruding from its sinewy flesh. With it in a fit, or primal fury slamming its remaining clawed hand into his stomach, and while it managed to get partially into his flesh, he grabbed it, turning the arm onto the elbow. He reassured his gauntleted hand back and punched down on the elbow joint, with it snapping like a twig and it snaggling limply to the ground as it went for a bite against Issei. Yet Issei had saw this coming and proceeded to grab it by the jaws and started to pry it open to the fullest. For the werewolf tried to keep Issei from furthering opening it, however, his strength was far greater as he continued to pry open the mouth until a loud snap its mouth had been ripped open to where it looked comically wide as the upper and lower jaw hung wide open from having tendon and joints ripped open, with Issei for good measure stomped on its head to make sure that it wouldn't do any funny business, with him doing so in repetition, for he continued to do so until it was nothing but mush made of crushed skull and liquefied brain from the stomps that left cracks in the ground. Once again, this was better than I thought, Issei spoke, ripping the werewolf's claws out of his stomach as he dragged the remains to the dumpster and tossed them into him. Yes, at your rate, improvement is quite impressive, yet remember that it's still been a week since you have ways to go and you become simply deadly. You can become truly deadly, Ddraig told him, as he making a good deal of progress. I know, that is why I've got to keep doing at this until I can get to find out who's behind all of this and then beat the brains in of him, Issei responded as he walked off elsewhere. Well, I might as well go for 2 tonight since I'm feeling pretty good about myself, Issei added as bright orange-eyed fueled the adrenaline was ready to go out for another fight. Then go for it. Just practice more caution, since I'd rather not have to worry about you suffering another fatal wound, Ddraig cautioned him as Issei bounded off into the night. Don't worry, Ddraig. I've got this all under control, Issei told him, leaping into the night to continue his adrenaline rush. So then Issei, with having willed himself back to life through a driven need to avenge his death, he has now become a revenant, hell-bent on revenge against people who had him die. For how will this unfold? Well, you'll have to find out in the new chapters of the Red Dragon Revenant. And that is the end of Chapter 1. Chapter 2, Battle Ready. September 24th, 2016, Ko Town, 8:30 p.m. It was 8:30, and the autumn sun had set as Issei was currently setting his sights on a stray devil he'd been looking for the past 2 days due to him having a particular weapon he wanted, that being a two-handed warhammer that pulsed with minor amounts of psionic energy. Well, here goes nothing, Issei spoke, having activated his twice critical. Now then, time for me to get my new weapon, Issei thought as he dived after the stray devil. With that, he went in for a Superman punch that caught it off guard, making it nearly fall over as soon as he met with the Warhammer clashing into him like a wrecking ball. For what he managed to catch it in a relatable by clocking a said devil in the face as he now got a new look at his target. The stray devil was a 6'8" tall figure with a broad, somewhat hulking figure and a large imposing muscles which had molted leathery skin like a bearded lizard and half-foot bull horns jutting forwards, as he wore armor made some kind of animal hide with his beady greenish-green eyes stared in anger at Issei. For he swung the warhammer at Issei, who got a full face of it as he felt the heavy blow along with a burst of psychic energy rip into him. That caused him to stumble back in pain as he went to collect his bearings before having jump out of the way to avoid getting his balls smashed in, with him having to grab the hood of a minivan and use it like a makeshift shield to avoid getting smashed in the face with further aid, while his head throbbed from the pain before it until he reared his fist back and smashed it into the devil's stomach that caused him to stop his assault, to which nearly caused the devil to fold before Issei followed it up with an uppercut that sent him back into the streetlight. For as soon as he folded the hood of the car, he used it as a shield into a makeshift cetus on his unarmored hand and rushed it after the devil, with the devil having regained his bearings enough to meet Issei in the middle as the warhammer connected with the makeshift cetus in display of force, sending shards of metal all over it, and it was partially destroyed in that moment. Both hit each other once again as they were stumbling back from each other. I gotta say, that's a pretty handy piece of equipment you got there. As mind telling me where you got it? Issei asked as he felt the psychic energy rush through him once again. From my dead master, since it was the least he could do for being so pathetic, the stray devil spoke as he spat out some teeth from the drab his reptilian mouth. So, you are a devil then, since I ain't seen nothing like you, Issei wondered as he stared at this horned reptilian devil before him. I am Korshak, and you will fall like all others before me, Korshak spoke as he hefted his warhammer. Well, what are you waiting for? Come and get me already, Issei told him as he ripped out a stop sign out of the ground as a makeshift bludgeon. That's the spirit. As you are now an opponent worth my time, Korshak responded as he rushed after Issei. With that, they met in the middle, with Korshak blocking the blow that would have broken his neck and spun around it to hit Issei in the sternum, cracking it as a sharp gasp for air, as he stomped his foot into the ground to prevent himself from stumbling back before gritting his teeth and going in for a baseball swing at his face, to which Korshak was luckily for Rook's durability, otherwise that would have fractured his left orbital, but it was still left a decent shiner on his reptilian face, with him then jumping up to smash it on top of his face, causing him to almost bite his tongue. To which Rorschach didn't take to and proceeded to smash the warhammer into Issei's face with such strength and ferocity that he wasn't only sent 15 feet back, but also had his jaw broken as he felt his tendons snap and psychic energies tear into his mind in the form of discordant screams within his mind, with him spitting out blood and holding his jaw together as he felt the joint tendons snap together back in place before he charged back at him in full sprint until halfway through he used it as a pole vault to jump into the air. With him going into impale the stray devil with said stop sign, yet he was throttled as Korshak leapt out of no way, causing Issei to impale the ground. Yet, with a new idea, he soon threw the stop sign like a javelin in an attempt to gore the reptilian devil who smashed it away from him. But Issei had already used its momentum to rush alongside it and rip the sign off the pole, and it was asphyxiated to throw it at Korshak, with it sawing through the hide armor and cutting into his midsection 3.5 inches, and a dark crimson blood came out of the wound. Nice shot there. I'm impressed you managed to pull it off, Korshak spoke as he ripped the octagonal piece of metal out from his side. What can I say? I'm full of surprises, Issei responded as he saw a car door and yanked it off the passenger door to use a makeshift shield. Well, then show me more of what you can do then, Korshak said as he began to charge after Issei. Don't worry, I've got it covered, Issei replied, ramming himself into Korshak with as much force as empowered form would give. The result actually being that when he ducked under the swing, crashing into his chest, the result was not only the torso portion of a hide armor, but broke 4 ribs at it, sent him spiraling through an empty gas station, with Issei having a crazy enough idea that it might just work, but in the long run would more likely hurt like hell, but would be worth it to further his revenge against Yuma, and besides, at least he would be able to further to see how much punishment he could take as a revenant. With him taking advantage of a stunned stray devil, who was now coughing out blood and still recoiling from the attack soon, rushed him and grabbed the warhammer as he began to try and wrestle it away from him. For the two were engaged in a grapple match as they rammed one another into gas pumps in such force of the gasoline to leak out. Before Issei having kneed Korshak in one of his previously cracked ribs got him to release the warhammer, sending it flying and having it embedded itself 4 yards away in concrete. Before the reptilian devil knew this was going to end one way and proceeded to go at Issei in a vicious fist fight. With the two going at it, Issei had a considerably advantage due to the remains of his makeshift shield, helping to take blows from Korshak, whom, by the way, wasn't pulling any punches as his blows dented apart small fragments of the car door until Issei was forced to discard the now baseball-sized chunk of metal. For the two were wailing on each other, although Korshak was beginning to feel as his injuries were catching up to him. Issei was regenerating, with Korshak managing to wrestle Issei to the ground and start punching his lights out. "I'm impressed that you managed to push me this far, but this is the end of the line for you," Korshak spoke before he got on top of Issei and began choking him. "That's what you think, because I got one thing to ask you," Issei questioned as he reached for the discarded lighter. "What?" Korshak answered. "Are you fire retardant?" Issei asked before clicking the lighter on. With that, he smirked and threw up the flaming lighter into the gasoline puddles that soon caught ablaze as the result followed as a large fireball erupted, consuming both in the furious blaze, with Korshak being incinerated outright, while Issei's regenerative factor went into overdrive trying to mitigate the damage of the blaze as multiple explosions rocked throughout, until about a minute later Issei crawled out of the wreckage in smoldering flames as his body creaked in agonizing pain as he began to heal back to normal. "Well, at least I can survive getting blown up," Issei thought as he crawled out from the fireball and towards his prize. "You do realize how reckless that was, as you could have gotten yourself blown to bits," Ddraig scolded that burnt revenant who cracked a pained smile. "Hey, give me a break. I've only been a revenant or whatever for 2 weeks, so cut me a kind of a break," Issei responded as he continued to crawl due to the white hard sharpness impaled in his legs. "Besides, I got what I wanted, and I came out alive on the other side. Alive and well," granted the second, who looks at third-degree burns, and the fact that I'm shocked right now. I'm severity of what would have roasted any normal person alive. So all things considered, I tell today wasn't so bad," Issei added as he gasped the warhammer. "Well, at least now you've had a proper weapon for yourself, although I still caution you to not be so reckless as you are now, because doing things like that in all-for-nothing fight will get you killed or worse," Ddraig told him as Issei held the warhammer and looked up at him and a pained smile on his face. The warhammer had a double-sided regular head, with each end being flattened out like the size of a 6-year-old skull. It made dark silver-colored metal with lines going throughout. It was pushed with a deep light indigo light, to which throughout it looked almost like some kind of primordial culture and ready to cave in someone's skull, like a Galagagger watermelon, with the handle being a foot long and made of steel that was dark gray with indigo lines spiraling throughout like a helix that had black worn down leather wrappings upon it. And besides, with this sucker, I can now have something to cave in Yuma's head with. So it all worked out in the end. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take this damn sharple from my legs and then walk my ass home," Issei spoke as he got to work on picking the sharple and bending both of his legs. "You truly are one of a kind," Ddraig spoke, snarkily as Issei ripped the sharple out of his legs. 2 days later, September 26, 2016, Koh-Town, 9:45 p.m. It was 9:45 at night, as Issei was currently scanning the area for someone to test his new warhammer out on, when he saw a blonde-haired girl, wearing a gothic Lilikata clothing flying overhead with the same black wings as Yuma, and with a large malicious grin spread across his face. "Well, at least I'm going to be able to get target practice, and hey, at least I'll probably get a new lead on Yuma as well," Issei spoke as he activated his twice critical as a safety precaution. "Now, then time for me to get my answers," Issei thought as he jumped into the air and leapt after her. What the hell even is that? Millet wondered, before Issei brought the warhammer square in the middle of her back with such force she went sent plummeting. So now that I've made my presence, I just want to make two things clear. One, being that I want whatever you know about Yuma. Secondly, I'm gonna smash your stupid face in, Issei spoke, holding his warhammer like a baseball bat. Wait a minute. You're supposed to be dead. How the hell are you alive? She gutted you clean, though, Millet questioned, as how Issei was alive. That doesn't matter. But what is that you'll be dead, Issei spoke as he rushed her again. That in mind, Millet had continued to conjure up a light spear to prevent him from carving her skull in as he brought down the warhammer down so hard it broke the light spear in half and caused her legs to stagger back, before Issei hit her square in the stomach, causing her to take a sharp intake of air and double over while psychic energy in the form of wailing screams ripped through her mind. While Millet was busy clutching her head from the screams echoing in her mind, Issei sucker punched her in the face, sending her sprawling across the pavement. With a blonde fallen angel realizing she needed to take off to the skies, flew off to get an advantage. Yet what she didn't account for was Issei leaping after her like the Incredible Hulk and eventually catching up to her, before grabbing Millet's leg and proceeding to hit her in the side of the chest, causing 2 ribs to fracture while her breath hitched. That after one of another to her stomach, that once again sent her spiraling back down as she, the revenant, crashed back down to earth. With Issei's cracked ribs and dislocated arm were already resetting back into place after falling from 2 half stories. With her vision a blurred haze, as she deadly made another light spear to defend herself from attacks of Issei, yet when she was unprepared for Issei leaping over her spear, thrust, and then coming back around, with her soon falling prone and sprawled across the ground as her right kneecap was caved in, for all the blows to her from the warhammer and moreover the sonic energy that caused her head to be weighed down by a phantom scream she could hear it in her mind, before Issei planted a foot on her chest with his warhammer at the ready. Now that I've got some questions that need to be answered. So either you answer then, or, let me put it to you if you don't. I'm starting to use this to snap you in half, Issei told her as the warhammer loomed over her. So then first question. Who and what is Yuma and why did she kill me? Issei asked, wondering about the $1 million question. Damn it, I knew Rainier would fuck this up, Millet cursed as she tried to squirm her way out only to have the warhammer smash right into her right wing. Hey, no funny business. And is Rainier her real name? And again, what the fuck is she and you? Issei questioned, planting his foot further down on her chest to where cracking of her sternum could be heard. Alright, yes, it's her name, damn it, and we're gosh damn fallen angels, Millet told him, in pain as her chest further blossomed with pain. Ddraig, any idea on what fallen angels would want me to Ddraig, any ideas on what fallen angels would want with me dead? Issei questioned, wondering what they could want him dead for. Probably because of me. Since I told you even though I'm not fully capacity quite yet, I still possesses of the power to kill God, so they probably went after you to get me, Ddraig answered back, since due to him being sealed inside a long giant sacred gear, his power was most sought after. Good to know. And it looks like I've got another reason to keep my guard up, Issei responded before turning his attention back to Millet. Now, then next question, where is she and all of your other comrades at? Issei asked before he was hoping to go broke and at least take out a majority of them before going for Rainier. Fuck you, I ain't telling you shit about where they are, as I already told you more than I was gonna, Millet cursed at Issei, who proceeded to smash the warhammer into her right hand, turning it into a mangled pile of bone and flesh. Wrong answer. Tell me where the rest of you are, Issei asked again as she spat blood in his face. I ain't gonna tell you shit. In fact, I'll do what Rainier couldn't, Millet retorted as she tried to impale Issei's leg with a light spear. What a fucking jackass, Issei thought as he smashed the warhammer into her left shoulder, causing it to dissipate as a blow of pain escaped her lips. Well, seeing as that stunt told me you aren't going to give me any more, there's only one thing left to do, Issei spoke before raising his warhammer. That in mind, Issei went to work, pulverizing Millet's head, that within a few swings was completely caved in and looked like someone who had taken a grapefruit and repeatedly whacked it with a meat tenderizer, while blood lumps of squished gray matter and shards of skull were all across the pavement. Well, Issei, it is a start to what you got out of her, for at least now we can have a name and a motive, although there's still a few things that are unclear, Ddraig said, as Issei shook the blood and gore off his warhammer. I can agree to that on the bright side, and I'll flush her out into the open, Issei spoke as he looked at the corpse to see if there was anything of value to take. Anyways, I'm gonna go around some more and see if there's any more stuff that I can scavenge and look for to help me out against her, since I've got about a good hour and a half good before I'm gonna turn in, Issei added as he leapt since he wanted to kill some more time. Good to see that you're taking initiative to gain what's needed to have advantage over your enemies, Ddraig spoke as Issei could only smirk. Of course, after all of its survival of the fittest game out here, I will survive long enough to get my revenge, Issei responded, for all that is set to what he deemed necessary to gain advantage over his enemies. Because soon enough, there won't be a single person in this town that can stop me from getting what I want, Ddraig. Since I'll soon cave in Raynar's head like a watermelon, for my death will be avenged, since I refuse to something like this go without resolution. Issei swore as he felt a pulse of neurotic energy come from within himself at his declaration. Looks like you're proving to become more and more capable, partner. Since, if it keeps going at this rate, then eventually not even Albion and his host will stand much of a chance against our shared might, Ddraig thought, since Issei's growth rate combined with his drive for vengeance so far had proven to be quite a motivator. 3 days later, Koh Academy, 3:45 p.m., September 29th, 2016. It was 4:45 as Sona had met up with Rias to discuss one particular thing that had none than other Issei Hyodo had been during the 3 weeks since his retrieval and begun to make his presence felt. If the surveillance done by both Harrises was anything to go, especially since he killed Korshak days ago. So Rias, I take it that you noticed that Issei has begun to get involved in things lately, Sona noted. That ever since Issei's self-resurrection, he's been clearing out strays and monsters alike. Yes, as Akeno and Kiba have both been reporting back to me the same thing of how he's been able to take out strays so far and having awakened his sacred gear, Rias responded, since her queen and knight had been keeping surveillance of him. However, what I don't understand is how he was able to be revived. Since the last we checked, there's no divine, devil, or angelic blood in him, and neither is there any trace of arcane energy within him, Sona spoke, finding it quite strange that an ordinary human like Issei was able to be resurrected. So what's the necromancer brought him back then? Rias questioned, as if it was the case. Well, that would likely be the cause, since I personally went back with Tsubaki to see if that was the case. So while the place was heavy with neurotic energy, it lacked the accompaniment of any magic that would flow within it. Which is why whatever happened to him is quite puzzling, Sona answered back, finding the circumstances behind his revival weird. Because reviving and resurrecting someone from the dead was by no means a small feat to accomplish, and the fact that it was done without magic made it all more both puzzling and troubling. Since if someone brought back Issei without magic and pure neurotic energy, then it would mean for both of them. So what do you want to do then concerning Issei, since I still think we should recruit him into either of our Parajas, Rias wondered, as to what they should do with the Revenant. Oh, I still intend to get him into my Paraj, for there's no doubt about that. However, what I want to know is how did he come back from death after having died that night? Sona spoke, with a calculative smile on her face that there was no way she was going to let such potential asset go to waste. Well, you'll have to go through me first, Sona, because I will have him first, Rias replied, since she also wanted to lay claim to him as well. You better hurry, Rias, because he's got so much untapped potential that he's been showing itself these past 3 weeks. Since who would have thought that he would have gone from just another pervert here at the academy to someone who could kill strays with their bare hands, Sona noted, at the fact that with Issei improving quite rapidly. So you can be assured that I will have him, Sona, because he's just what I need to get out of this accursed marriage with Riser, Rias spoke, knowing that Issei he was growing in strength was perfect to help him getting away from Riser. For I refuse to marry such a complete filth like him. For my parents chose him for me to marry and I will completely never understand, Rias added, as she would never understand why her parents had to set up with such a thing. It's the same as all things in our society for power wanting to preserve a pure bloodline for devils, Sona noted, at the way things have been since their society since they were born. Whatever happened to the idea of true love, Sona? For why can't I just be able to find someone I want to love and get married to, instead of being married to a disgusting womanizer like Riser, Rias wondered, as to why she couldn't give him the choice to choose who she wanted to love instead of forced into it. That's something I can't answer for you, Rias, because if you want to go into matters of the heart on something, then I'm the wrong person to do it with, because I'm more for the fact, and the fact of the matter at hand is that you intend to get Issei into your Paraj, then you better do it quickly. Since we may be friends and all, but I won't simply wait for you to get a hold of him, Sona told her, since while she cared for Rias and the situation she was in, yet she wasn't going to stand a chance by letting her get a hold of him. I know that, Sona. I'm already making plans to get him into my barrage, Rias spoke confidently, and knowing that she could get him onto her side. What exactly do you have planned to get him onto your side, Rias? Because I'm quite curious on how you'll do so, Sona asked, as to know she'd get the revenant onto her barrage. Like I tell you, Sona, since if I tell you, you'll no doubt start planning around to go against me. Because I've known you for too long to tell you about anything I've got planned. It would be a horrible idea for me, Rias responded with a confident smirk, knowing full well that telling Sona about any idea she had to get Issei on her side was the wrong one to make. Especially since if there's one she knew about her closest friend. It was that she was incredibly cunning and calculative, since she was one of the best minds of their current generation. Therefore, she knew about telling her what she was going to do into the terms of getting Issei onto her barrage was a very bad move to make on her part. Well, you can't blame me for trying, since I previously said, Rias, that Issei is growing stronger quite rapidly, which is why I'll be making my own moves soon enough to get him on my side since. I already started thinking on which perceives to give him, Sona spoke, since the reports of her own given him she was thinking he would best be suited for as a rook or possibly a hard-hitting knight. Well, I guess I'll wish you the best of luck, Sona, since I refuse to let you get him so easily, since he's going to be mine and not even you will stop me, Rias swore, as she would have Issei in hopes of getting him to help to defeat Riser. Thank you, and I just hope you won't be disappointed when I'm able to have him come to my side, Sona spoke with a confident smile of her own. You wish, Sona, Rias responded as she let out a smile across her face. The next night, Ko-Town, 10:08 p.m., September 30th, 2016. It was 8 after 10 at night, as Issei was currently fighting against a rogue cleric who had been causing some havoc in the area, saying he was doing it in the name of God's name that name Issei wasn't having. You know, I'm starting to get tired of all you fucking up my town, Issei spoke as he had to duck out of the way of a bolt of radiant energy that came after him. Oh no, since I'll cleanse filth like you from the world and show that the fools have cast me out, the cleric spoke as he shot out the sexes of rays made of holy flame. The one time I finally get to fight a magic user, and it's a cleric that's completely nuts, Issei thought, as while he was able to get out of the way of 4 of the rays, last one of them marble-sized hole in his chest. Nevertheless, you've still got an enemy to fight, Ddraig told him, as he got out of the way from another bolt of radiant energy that Issei decided he should activate his twice critical. You've got this right since his stupid attacks are really annoying, Issei cursed as his regeneration was slowed by the divine energy. Time for you to die, undead filth, the cleric spoke as the holy flame gathered around his hands. That in mind, a 15-foot cone of holy flame struck Issei, and while he managed to leap out of the way, he sneered in pain as his right pants and left lower pants leg were burned to ashes, leaving him with minor second-degree burns, with him then rushing after the cleric, who fired out another energy bolt that Issei managed to roll out of the way from ambient sum of scrapping off as part of his jacket, before he closed the distance and smashed the warhammer into the cleric's face, knocking 5 out of his teeth out. Before on the back swings, getting a satisfying crunch that dislocated his right shoulder as the auburn-haired cleric yelped in pain with his arm dislocated. For soon he heard the discordant screams that echoed in his mind, causing him to clutch his head as the sonic energy invaded his mind, with Issei swaying at the cleric, causing him to go back several feet away from him, rushing in against him, until soon enough he was hit by a quart of rays made of holy fire, hitting him square in the chest, with them causing both pain and infiltration as the wound slowly healed. With him leaping forward to close the distance, while the cleric muttered a silent prayer that caused more of his wounds to heal, as he had to dodge from Issei coming down to the cave in his head, and with him going in and smashing his nose in a blow from his warhammer. The cleric was reeling back as his nose, as part of his upper jaw, had been smashed in front blow. So in retaliation, he focused on holy energies within it and let it explode in a blinding radiance, or a deep azure that blinded Issei and tore him into as almost cosmic burn appeared on his flesh. Damn, that's smart, Issei curved, as his vision began to clear a bent in an agonizing rate from the point of blank bursts of radiance. Hey Ddraig, I've got an idea, since remember how you told me that a revenant's got neurotic energy in them, right? Issei questioned, as his blurred vision he found himself get hit by a spectral weapon that knocked him face in the hydrant. Yes, as in all times, I've had partners, every single one of them has either gone up against or been allies with revenants who've been not only fueled by neurotic energy, but also to varying degrees to manipulate it. Why do you ask? Ddraig informed, as informed him as Issei stood up as he rolled out of the way of the spectral flexion. Well, I've been working on something. It's a bit of a stretch, but hopefully it works, Issei spoke as plumes of black smoke that red of rotting flesh pulsed out of his hand. Time to die as soon as the light of the Lord will extinguish the filth you are, the clerk spoke before directing a spectral flexion to attack Issei once again. Oh, shut up already, Issei spoke as he leapt and sucker punched the clerk as the smoke attached onto him. Looks like it worked, Issei thought to himself. With that, he renewed his attack to the clerk, who was trying to get a new and somewhat more solidified black smoke cling onto him like a shroud that pulsed when Issei struck him with his warhammer. With the clerk blowing in pain as the neurotic energy ripped into a tandem with Issei's blows. For Issei swung twice more, one being a stomach shot that had him double over before he swung it like a baseball bat and smacked him hard in the jaw, sending him spiraling 15 feet into a car hood with his jaw disconnected and having partially necrosized. For the clerk had to concentrate and heal his dislocated jaw, with him sending his spectral fraction after Issei to impale him, and while a chunk of flesh was taken off his gut, he still soldiered on the words as he soon leapt forwards like being shot from a cannon. This subsequently smashed it into his lower right leg, breaking it into 4 places, with the clerk being in so much pain from the attack that the spectral fraction discapitated. While Issei took this added opportunity, smashed him in the stomach again to where it caused him to spit up a moderate-sized glob of blood, before grabbing him by the face and shucking him like a baseball, where he thudded against the ground 5 meters away as his body vibrated in pain, with him having to use more of his divine magic to heal his leg and putting a good deal of effort into it to make it so that it was a semi-functional again, until soon enough standing up onto his good leg and seeing the revenant still standing infuriated the cleric that his unholy abomination was still standing, so drawing deep within to begin to evoke the strongest spell he had in his arsenal. Let's see you survive this, the cleric thought, before Issei could even react. A 20-foot long by 20-foot high and 20-foot thick wall of flames erupted into life. Now die by the flame of glorious light of my lord, the clerk bellowed, as he kept going for almost half a minute before seizing it and descending armor out of him. Finally, he's dead, the clerk spoke, watching the golden flames of holy fire illuminate the night sky. Wrong again, asshole, Issei spoke, smashed the warhammer into his bicep with a mere that. How the hell did you survive that? As you should have incinerated you, the clerk questioned as Issei had slowly healing 3rd-degree burns that ripped through him with horrid pain. The funny thing is about that, I'm extremely stubborn bastard and I refuse to die in some pissant. Besides, I died my mark would have come long ago. With you, zealous asshat. Issei responded as if a half-naked revenant smashed the warhammer into the clerk's kneecap, shattering them both, and was accompanied by a pulse of thick black smoke. You will die one day, you unholy filth. As soon enough your day will come, and my lord will be there on high, to burn your wretched soul with his divine judgment, the clerk spoke, as Issei stomped on his chest to point out that it fractured his sternum like a cheap pottery. I am going anywhere until the people who got me killed die. So tell me, man upstairs, that he won't get my soul just yet, Issei spoke as he brought his warhammer down with a loud crack until he caved the clerk's chest into it like smashed it like a pumpkin. Well, Ddraig, I'm just gonna go sit down for a bit considering I'm now half naked, as well as burned over most of my body, Issei gritted out, feeling the pain he's been repressing after being caught in the wall of flame to catch up to him. Yes, as for your first fight against a user of magic, you fared quite well, since once again I expect you to lose a limb or worse, have some of your organs be significantly damaged, which is why I congratulate you on your hard-fought victory, Ddraig commented. Issei since knew his first fight against a magic user, the clerk, the wizard, warlock, sorcerer, or a druid that either way would still pose a significant threat to a revenant. Well, I would take my getting roasted and blasted by divine magic and holy fire to be a close second, Issei responded, as he felt his wounds heal slowly as he kicked the corpse into a sewer hole. Still, the fact that I held out and came on top is a pretty decent feat by itself. Issei sat down by a nearby alleyway away from just one cloudless night. Yes, and I do have to ask, how did you come up with that technique you used against the cleric? Ddraig wondered, as to how he manipulated his neurotic energies with him to make a bolster his damage output. Oh, that? Well, that's something that a couple of days from me being a revenant in that thought. Why not roll it with and make it into something that could support me in a fight? Since I realized that while I can't do flashy magic like some people, I decided that the best option was to turn it into something that could further help my damage output against enemies, Issei responded, since he figured that his new technique was something he could do and fly in to help for himself out in a pinch. Because Issei figured out that during his short time as a revenant that due to the fact that he had no real faculty in arcane arts and actually delighted in getting up close and beating the hell out of someone, that he should make something go on tandem with it. Which is why instead of some flashy magical mumbo jumbo like anyone else would go for, he decided to use his capacity to manipulate his own neurotic energy into an alterine purpose. That's quite a wise and smart move on your part, since I applaud you for going with some utility than just more offensive power, Ddraig complimented Issei for his decision on it. Thanks, Ddraig, because I'm perfectly fine with my physical capabilities, which is why I have some support options to help me out fight always helps, Issei responded, finding that his newfound ability would be a major asset. Well, regardless, you're on the way to your revenge against the fallen angel, Ddraig told him as Issei's body groaned in protest as he tried to stand. Yep, as soon enough, Rainire's stupid head is going to be looking like it got ran over by a car tire, since just like what she did to me, there will be no mercy and no exceptions, since I'm going to have my death be avenged no matter what. Issei swore as his bright orange eyes burned with a laser-focused drive to kill Rainire's, to seek retribution towards his death. Well, until then, I suggest you grow stronger and stronger, for you still have a ways ahead of you before you're able to kill her, Ddraig told him, as until the day he would clash against her, he should continue his quest to grow in strength. Oh, don't worry, Ddraig, I've got it all under control, because not one single person will get in my way, because the moment they do, I'll cave their fucking skulls in, Issei declared, as he continued to sit there and let his wounds heal. For my death will be avenged, every last person behind connected will it shall perish, Issei swore to himself, as he could not bow or rest until he got retribution. And that is the end of Chapter 2, Battle Ready. And that is where we're going to stop for now, right at the end of Chapter 2. So I read 2 chapters, and this is pretty much like an hour-long special. I think it's either going to be 53 or 54 minutes. I decided to start this one off with a banger or a longer part because I've never done a part 1 where it's been like 53 minutes or something really crazy like that. It's usually been in the later parts. And I also decided to do a little bit of the special since I really do like truth, but I also wanted to get this story out as well because I have had a lot of fun reading it, and it's definitely my type of story as well. Now, what if Issei the Godslayer is born will be out soon enough, okay? But I am going to take some time writing it as I can't even start writing it yet, but I do have the concept down and how I'm going to go with it and overall. I think I'm going to call it Issei the Godslayer is Born. And that's pretty much what I'm going to go with. And yes, I already have a sick-ass thumbnail to go with it, so you don't even need to worry about that. And I got a question. Would you guys like to see another stream? Because a lot of people have been requesting me to fix my hairline as well, so maybe I'll do that in the future. But, seriously, thank you. If we can hit 1,000 likes, that would be absolutely amazing. We are actually 4,000 subscribers away from 30,000 subscribers. This actually is like it truly is a blessing. Like, I cannot thank you enough for all the amazing support that you've shown me throughout the days. What if Naruto was betrayed? What if Issei was the son of Great Red? Issei the God Killer is Born are all coming soon. The Naruto one will most likely be a one-shot, as Issei the God Killer is Born will have multiple parts to it. And What If Naruto Betrayed, as I said, will be a one-shot, and Great Red will come out with all those inconsistencies as well. And Truth will be continuing, so you don't have to worry a soul about it. Once again, thank you for so much support. If you guys want to know exactly when I upload, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button, and without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD, out.